you want to talk about the nutrition, but if you want to talk about all the spicy writing or whatever writing you're working on, or both. I don't know if you saw the meme I tagged you on.
I like go on Facebook like once a week.
They're doing something and he reaches out in the drawer for a condom and it's like when he opens it, it's like a piece of hot sauce or something.
I actually purposely don't have Facebook on my phone. I just have Instagram and YouTube. Yeah, I just feel like it would be an extra distraction. So I just kind of discipline myself with that and I just have it on my laptop and I go on there like once a week or something. But yeah, I mean, well, I always tell people like when I talk about my writing that it's my form of journaling.
Mm.
Because I feel like writing is kind of underrated because when I see what I see on social media, when I hear people talking about a lot is like, oh, I journal in the morning. I wake up at like 6 a.m. I journal. I do this. I do this. Oh, you should journal. You should journal. That's the first thing you should do. But I feel like sometimes people forget that everyone is so different. And even like just writing, maybe like even just writing sticky notes from time to time and getting people's thoughts out and just kind of having like a collage that might work for somebody. But for me, specifically, I like to write fiction in the form of the romance genre. I did an interview with somebody else and I told her how writing or how my alter ego saved my life because my alter ego is my pen name, Shireen Fox. Shireen is my middle name and I just chose Fox because I felt like it sounded sexy. I also like Fox. I think they're so cute. So I chose that. If I did not write the books that I wrote, I would not be here. I would not be an entrepreneur. I would not be with my significant other. For me, it was writing who I wanted to be, what I wanted my life to be like. On top of that, I also wrote down what I did not like, what I wanted to change. I wrote out my trauma. So that got rid of a lot of anxiety. But I didn't realize I started writing November 2020, and I did not realize that when I was writing these male characters that I was writing my significant other. Because I've been reading forever, and I got into romance back in I want to say when did I graduate? When did I graduate college? 16. I want to say 2016. I got into romance 2016, and I was like, oh, that's fantasy. Like, girls aren't really like this in real life. Guys aren't like this in real life. One day I just started to write a story from the male point of view, the white male point of view, which was interesting. And 14 hours later, I'm like, my ex came and got me. He's like, you've been in here for 14 hours. I was like, what? Oh my God. I looked at the time. I was like, what? But I didn't realize that I was writing the person I actually wanted to be with. At the same time, I was also writing like part of myself, like what I went through and who I wanted to be. Never ever thought I would have like 12 work in progress drafts on my laptop. Since then, I was in a toxic relationship at the time, and writing was my escape. I was writing my dream life and my dream person. It wasn't until I met him, I was like, wait a minute. He was saying and doing certain things. I swear to God, I would go back to my books, like find the sentence. I was like, oh my God, that's so creepy. But it was interesting because my boyfriend's also a writer and he also subconsciously wrote me as well and didn't realize it. When we met each other, we're kind of like, do we know each other? He's like, oh my God, you're Peppermint. I was like, what? Who's Peppermint? But it's funny because Peppermint's actually a hooker in one of his books, but he's like, you're
It's the
Peppermint.
puppy.
Yeah. He's like, I wrote you, you're Peppermint. You're from one of my books, The Manning the Disappearing Suit. I actually have it right here because he dedicated it to me when he finalized it. So this is his book. And then it says, for Vanessa, he was my muse and my strength. That one's my copy, although I don't read physical books anymore because my eyesight's way too bad. I read everything on my phone. But yeah, anyways, my point of that was writing can be a lot more than just journaling and writing in a diary. Because I feel like when it's done in a fictional way, it allows us to see things in a different light. Because journaling, it's kind of like, writing your thoughts out. But when you're writing fictional world and you're kind of escaping reality, and then you go back and reread it, it's like you're seeing things differently. It's kind of like when you watch a movie and you pick up on things and then there's kind of like meaning behind the movie. It's like that when I write because I don't plan when I'm writing. I just write it out. So it's kind of like journaling. When people journal, they just let their emotions come. But with me, I write it in fictional characters in a fictional world, I will go back and reread my books to find things that I feel like I missed. I have one series right now. Book 3 in that series is about the girl becoming an entrepreneur and what she did and how she did it. So I'll go back to see if I missed anything and I'll pick up on things like, oh, right, yeah, I need to do this. I see things differently when I do it like that because I've tried journaling and it just doesn't work for me. I feel like when people write, even if it's a fictional short story, sometimes they might not know that they're also writing their wants and their needs, but in a different character, even if that character is completely different from them. Book 1 is called Since Felicity. The majority of the book, he's in his 20s, but it starts out with him at 11 years old, a white man called Jason. He was me how I was when I was in my 20s. I was very depressed. I'm going through a lot. Book 2, it's about the girl he falls in love with, Felicity. That one's called Meeting Jason Day. That's the one I'm slowly working on, because I do want to get that published, at least edited by next year, because it depends on my editor's schedule. That has been taking me a long time because I pretty much did write my diary out in that book, but it has a lot going on. It is the longest out of all 12 books that I've written. Sometimes it is hard for me to read certain events in that book because they happened to me, but I'm kind of like over that now. I unfortunately wrote that book in a very stressed out state. Mm-hmm. So it's a little chaotic. Just to give you an example, that book is 120,000 words. Right now it's 121, trying to cut it back on the word count. I did that in 30 days. People typically do that in like a year, like 8 months to a year, 120,000 words. I wrote it in a very stressed out state. I'm just trying to get it to a point where my editor can like read it, understand the flow, because it's just like, it's a little chaotic. But yeah, it's pretty intense. That's just kind of that's my self-reflection. I write who I want to be, how I want my life to be, also who I want to be around, just everything. But it was very helpful for me because I had PTSD, I had a lot of trauma, especially childhood trauma. And that's the theme behind that series, it's the effects of childhood trauma. Although it's a romance book, it's really highlights mental health a lot. Pretty much every single book that I write talks about mental health. It's a huge stress reliever. When I was seeing a therapist for over a year, she's like, don't stop writing because that is your way to get things off your chest. Yeah. Because when I don't write, and it's actually going on to week 3 now where I haven't written, I will get like, I don't say depressed, but kind of like agitated and kind of sad. I won't say like depressed, but like kind of just down. Mm-hmm. So it's like I need to work. I am actually going to write. I think I'm going to stay up late Wednesday night since I'm off on Thursday and write. Because the problem with me is if I'm not careful, I only give myself Friday and Saturday night to write because I can easily stay up till 4 in the morning writing. It is terrible because I used to do that when I was working before, like weekday. I would stay up 2, 3, 4 easily writing because I just get so into it that just time just boop. So because I want to go to bed before 11 during the weekday, I don't write. All I do is just read. But right now it's been I haven't even really been reading because my boyfriend has become a snore monster. And what I realize is if I go to sleep with him, I'll be able to go into a deep enough sleep where his snoring won't wake me up until a few hours later. I'm such a light sleeper. I have earplugs in and everything, but it's so bad. So that's a whole other story, just trying to figure out how to deal with his snoring because we changed his pillows. That's not working. He's not open to other methods. I got this chin strap thing that's coming in the mail today to see if that'll help because it gently forces his mouth closed.
That's your next thriller, The Sleep Monster.
It is so bad. It's so weird because he just started like a month ago snoring like a monster. I'm just like, what is going on? Now I read during the day. I read every single day. That is a non-negotiable with myself. It is my moment for mindfulness. Mm-hmm. I used to do that at nighttime. I would get into bed around 10. My boyfriend would sleep and I would read for about anywhere from, I would say, like 15 to 15 minutes to an hour. But I can't because if I'm up and he's sleeping and then he starts snoring, I can't sleep. I need to go to sleep with him so I go into a deep sleep. It's bothering me. I've just been like reading during my lunch break now and my whole schedule's like messed up, but we'll get it figured out. But I might stay up late Wednesday work on some writing because I'm very behind on that. I really want to go through the book one more time before I send it to my editor.
That's the part I hate. Like when I was doing my thesis, I could not. Like I started hating having to reread it. And so every
Mhm.
time I will keep finding errors. So is that normal? Like to hate your writing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The best part is just the writing. And then once you go back and back and back, you start to get sick of it and you're like, oh my God. Because I got to that point. I'm about to like start rereading Since Felicity today. When I wrote Since Felicity, I loved writing it. But then after like the 10th time of me reading it for the editing part, I was over it. So yeah, no, that's normal to feel that way.
The only thing I'm used to writing is like, informative kind of thing, papers, whatever. I don't like fiction. I need books that have actionable things, biology or
Hmm.
whatever. I don't read fiction. I can. I'd rather watch
Hmm.
movies. But
Yeah,
I
I
would
get it.
like to write short, spicy stories. Do you have
Mm.
any recommendations on how to get people there or any tips for people who like I'm assuming most people that will come to my class sessions are not people who are writers, right? They're not used to doing
Hmm.
any of this. Even for me, I have PhD in sex. I think about sex so often in all kinds of ways. I have thousands of fantasies, but I don't know how to turn that into a story to write it down. How do you do that? What's your process?
I would say latch on to, I would say which one stands out the most because the one that's going to stand out the most is the one where you're going to have the most creativity because I don't start writing because I told you I don't plan it. I'm the same where I call them lingering characters. The way that it works for me is my brain will just show me scenes in my stories. I don't even know how it's going to go, if that makes sense. I just have like, for example, this one daydream I had in my head. I thought it was a daydream for years. This was before I was even actually reading romance. All I had in my head was this because I most of my stories I write are it's called BWWMs. They're interracial black woman, white male. All I had in my head was a black woman who got stuck in a snowstorm and this like man that owned a cabin, all gruff and grizzly and lumberjack like looking, come and save her. That was it. That was my daydream. I did not realize that that actually is a book because I actually wrote it like 2 years ago. Whichever fantasy is the strongest, the one that you think about the most, because that will give you the most content. Because if you pick something that's not popping up too much, it might be kind of hard. I've had these book characters lingering in my head for the past, I would say 2 years. I have not written them yet because it's not, the pull isn't strong enough. I have 2 scenes where there's a guy with a headset. He's on the, it's gonna be about, like long distance lovers who meet playing a online game. All I have is just him playing the online game and then them meeting up in a cafe where he's walking in and he sees like the back of her. That is it. But I'm not going to start writing that until it's constantly in my head. It's just kind of, well, yeah, you guys are there, aren't you? It's not like anything intense. I don't write anything new until I have that intense pull where it's constantly like saturating my mind and that's all I can think about because it's like it won't stop until I write it, if that makes sense. Once you figure out which one is the most strongest and the one that's constantly popping up in your head, just kind of grab it. You don't have to start from the beginning. You can start from the beginning, middle, or end because
So
if you
technically, I could
some
write down what I got.
right and then go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, because some people, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called plotters and then pantsers. There's 2 types of writers. There's a plotter. So there's people that actually write down like an outline of what they're going to write. Then there's people like me and Quentin Tarantino and J.K. Rowling who just ideas pop in their head and they just write it down. They just go with it. They don't plan anything. It just comes to them. It comes very freely. Book 3 in my series, I had absolutely no idea what to do for the beginning. But I had the part where she meets her boyfriend, but she's actually interviewing him for her business. It starts off with them meeting actually at a cafe, and she's interviewing people that she got off of Craigslist. That's how it starts. It wasn't actually until, it's funny because I wrote the middle. I want to say I wrote the middle to the middle end. went back, wrote the beginning to connect perfectly to the middle. I'm always amazed how that happens. It connected perfectly to the middle. Then I was able to finish it. If you just grab a scene or grab whichever's the most strongest and just start that and then figure out, okay, is this the beginning or is this the middle? Is this the end? And then go from there. But that's being a pantser. I'm not a plotter. I don't actually know how people who plan their writing, that's a completely different method. I can't actually tell you that. I don't think my boyfriend is.
Not take him out of the shower. Hey.
I think because you can be I think he's a little bit of both. I remember when I did give book 1 to my editor, she was like, I think you should write a prologue. I was like, oh my God, I've never forced myself to write something before. That was actually really hard for me to do because I had to force and kind of plan what I was going to write. And it's great. I love it, but I was stuck. She had to help me out a lot. She was like, maybe you should start here and start there. I'm not even joking. I just closed my eyes. I pretended I was my character and I was like, what are you doing? Because I was just like, this is so hard. But that was the only time I had to force myself to kind of write something. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Do you have any other tips? Like, I guess the one I have heard most common is to become a good writer, you have to be a good reader.
Yes.
Do you have any other tips that you would have a ritual to get into flow?
Even if you're not writing fiction or reading fiction, I feel like you can still become a good writer because something that my boyfriend and I say is you still want to read, even if you, like my boyfriend and I, we DNF a lot of books. If you read the bad books, you can realize, okay, why did you not like this style of writing? Even if it's not nonfiction. What did you not like about the style of writing compared to the ones that you really do like? You can see what works, what doesn't work. For you personally, not everyone likes the same books. Not everyone likes the same authors. Many authors have different styles of writing, even if it's fiction or nonfiction. I've read books from authors who don't read like religiously like my boyfriend and I do. And I'm like, I don't think you've ever, like you can tell. It's like, I don't think you've ever read a book in your life. I don't understand. Right? It helps you identify your own style because it's like, why do you like these authors? And why do you not like these authors? It helps you kind of make your own style. The authors that I like also kind of write like me. And the ones that I don't like are ways I would never write. It's like, it drives me crazy. I have pet peeves. I'm like, oh my God, why did they do that? Why did they put it like that? But it also can kind of help you out because the first time I wrote, people were confused. Like I had 2 people read it and they're like, I don't get it. Like, why don't, like, you should do this, you should do that. Because something that I don't like to do is I don't like to assume my readers are stupid. Because the way that I kind of wrote is like, well, I want the reader to be able to read the room and like the situation and kind of understand what's going on. Like, my best friend hates my writing. She does not like it because I do that. Also, because of what I write about, like a lot of mental health stuff. And she's like, I want this to be happy. I mean, I write happy endings, but I'm like, I'm not going to write that. But she loves that I'm a writer. She always asks how it's going. She just won't read my stuff. She hates it. And that's fine. I love her honesty because she told me why. So it's not for her. But I have people that love my writing. But it's once you kind of go back and reread your stuff, it's kind of like, especially when you have someone else read it, they're called alpha readers and beta readers. An alpha reader is the very first person that reads it besides you. A beta reader is someone typically who reads it after it's been edited by you. I had alpha readers. They gave me feedback. I fixed some stuff. Then I hired beta readers before I sent it to a professional editor. You don't have to do it that way. Some people do it a different way. Like some people will get, they're called ARC readers and beta readers after the book has been professionally edited. I don't like doing it that way because an editor, I mean, it just depends on also what kind of editor you get. But the beta readers they're also specialized in romance. Like that's their genre. They'll pick out things like, okay, well, this is typically what I like about a romance, what I don't like about a romance. And they give you feedback. Then you can send it to your editor because the editor is helping with not just the grammar, but also what is she called? It's called developmental editing. They help with the flow, the plot, the concept. If you just stick to the author that you like, they're always going to write the same. They're not going to go off. They might improve with certain things, but they're always going to have the same style of writing, regardless of what they're writing about. When you read new authors, it helps you figure out like your own style of writing.
You said you don't force yourself to write, so you don't do any like exercises, right? Like creative writing prompts randomly.
I've tried to do journal prompts. I've gone to retreats. I've done like meditation things. I've done sound baths, and they're like, oh, we're going to journal. I'm like, because I'm so focused on my environment. When I'm out and about, I'm so focused on the little details and the smells, and that it's hard for me to just kind of sit there and go by a journal prompt. Like, I've done so many journal prompts where it's just blank. It's just hard for me to do that. I think because I maybe overthink it. I think that's the problem, is I kind of overthink it. And when I go back and reread my stuff, it's kind of like I am answering those journal prompts, but in my own little way.
I will love it if you later, whenever you have time, you can send me a list of like spicy novels or short stories or authors you have so I can check them out.
Well, I told you what I read. I don't read what I write. I do not read what I write. Yeah, I don't know how that happened too. It's so weird. Because I told you I read like reverse harem.
Recommendations. I get requested for recommendations. Like, I don't know because I don't read.
Well, my boyfriend writes detective murder mystery. He hates romance. I only read romance. That's why it's hard for me like to read his book. But I did read the one that I kind of like fell in love with him with is Blood Night. I can send that to you. It's about it's a vampire. He's working on book 2. For me specifically, I told you I read like alien romance, reverse harem stuff. I do not write that, though. I write about real life, mental health, contemporary romance. I can send you some things. Do you want anything or just romance?
Any spicy rags. I think I also want to see like how the people do it. And I'm not sure why you guys not writing together. Have you watched the series Due on Netflix? It's like perfect murder romance kind of thing.
He doesn't like romance. He hates sex scenes. I love romance. I don't know why, but I told him I would read his book, so I'm just slowly reading it. I'm interested to see how he wrote me before he met me.
That's very interesting. Is there sex scenes in your romance novels?
All my romance novels have sex scenes. Book 1 has 2. Book 2 has 3. Book 3 has 5. Don't ask me how that happened because book 3 is shorter than book 2. Every single one has at least 1. It's not more than 2 because when you do more than, it depends on the word count, because when you do more than 2 for like I would say, because how long is senseless? Well, on the Kindle, the book pages are different from how many actually on my Microsoft Word document, but I want to say it's 260. I can get it really quick. I think it's like 260. Let me see. I'm gonna get it right here. Kindle. Hold on.
I'm not sure I understood. Are your books out already, or
there are? Well, I'm still trying to figure out how to use this thing. There we go. So from the title to the very end, like the author's note, there's 292, but I want to say, it's probably about 280, minus like the title, the content warning, the table of contents, and the author's note. And that has, so about for like a 300-page book, 2 sex scenes is appropriate. Once it kind of has more, then it's kind of like, it's no longer like a story. Because I have like actual stories. I don't like reading books where there's like no plot. It's just straight up, oh, I like you, you're hot. Oh, I like you too, you're pretty hot too. I don't like that. I just have one published because editors charge per word, not per page. Book 2 is going to cost at least $1,000 to get edited because it's 120,000 words. And that doesn't include the book cover.
How do you make that comeback?
Getting book 1 published was my dream because to get it edited, I think it was $630, and she's increased her rate since then. I had this published 2 years ago. And like the book cover was only $20. It wasn't that bad. And then the beta readers cost like $30-$50, so it wasn't that bad. But the editing cost the most.
Well, thank you for sharing, and this very. I do want to open my horizons and start reading that kind of thing because I don't know if I can write it if I've never read one.
I mean, you read what you're comfortable with. I've met people who like romance, but they don't like the sex scenes. Those exist.
Not
I do know an
uncomfortable with
author.
text. I just feel it's such a waste of time to read. And I know I may enjoy it. I just have never done it.
Then do audiobook.
Yeah, I should probably try that first.
Yeah, because my friend doesn't read. She does the audio because she's so busy. Actually, I have two friends that do audio. I just like reading. I don't audio. I like to. I can't see what I'm reading. For me, I
Yeah,
need to see the words, but they are so busy and I get it. So they do audiobooks.
I need books that I can highlight, or I'm
Okay.
not gonna be. I get lost.
Yeah.
But then it's different because they are nonfiction. There are things that I'm learning
Mm-hmm.
from. I'm guessing if it's a story, I wouldn't have so much. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. I mean, I can send you Ruby Dixon is one of my favorites. She has a very popular Ice Planet Barbarian series. Book one was pretty like I think that one has like over 30,000 reviews or something crazy on Kindle. CM Stunnick is pretty intense because she only writes reverse harem. Ruby Dixon does not write reverse harem. I can send you her Ruby Dixon's like most popular book, and you can read the synopsis and let me know if that's something you might be into or not. I'll have to go through my Kindle reading insights to see what books I've read because I read every day. So, but I don't finish everything I read.
Saying I have like 20,000 books open.
Yeah, I just DNF a lot of things because of certain things, but yeah, I'll have to go through it and see. But I'll send you her popular one.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Hope you enjoy your day.
You too. Nice getting to meet you.
Bye.